Hey, hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Ah, the day is well, it's 6 o'clock here in the evening. Your day just started. Yeah.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, coming in. Hey, Mrs. C. Hey, Shill. Good to see you both. Good to see you both. Um, it's a very quiet day here so far. I've
Mm.
just been twiddling about. I don't know. It's snow. I got snow this morning. A lot.
Oh, that's gotta
Yes.
be fun.
Oh, well, we remember I had said I thought maybe that we would be getting snow like a snowstorm Wednesday night, you know.
Mm.
But, oh, thank you for the compliment there, Charlotte. Charlotte says she can't stay, but she's been listening to our series, and they're really, really important. And thank you for doing them. Well, we've been doing this for 22 weeks now, on and off. Like we did take a couple
Yep.
breaks because Rekkr's in university. I don't always speak for him, but we needed some time and I had some stuff going on. But we're going to do all 48 of them and we're doing them in order, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm enjoying it because we're trying to take this very, uh,
Pragmatically.
it's a pragmatic list of business and dog eat dog
Mm.
world kind of mentality. And we're trying to apply it in a softer, gentler way to the real world situations we all face. And
Yes.
we admittedly fail sometimes. Like it's not always easy. It for me, you know. Um,
No.
some of those laws were rough, especially the way he words them. So
Yep.
yeah,
That's what I find is the hardest thing is the way he words them
hmm yeah,
can make them very difficult to interpret interpolate
mm,
that word
yeah. Extrapolate or
into
interpret or
normal everyday life.
yes, because well, that was the challenge when you brought it to me because we had done the 50th law Just
Mm-hmm.
for a little backstory for everyone, if you're just catching up, there is a playlist, so you're available to go to all the chapters and you can skip around. Um, there's also a list to the slides and everything in the description so that you can see the presentations. If you're listening and you want to look actually at the slides later, there's a whole link that you can go to. And there's a copy of the PDF of the book. So, you know, for so we try to keep everybody informed on it, but we are twisting it out. Everything out there is more business laden, more on, to get to your goals. Basically, if you wrap up the whole book it's just like you don't care about anybody else. You only care about your goal, and where the chips fall, they fall. End of story.
Yep.
And for
Basically.
me, I guess maybe it's because, been there, done that. I've had my career. I've done all of that. I do understand the aggression that's needed in some situations, but I also know that when you would accomplish a goal and you get to the end of your goal, and that's great, you won, wow, you did it. And then you turn around and the fallout is so great that you're all alone. You got nobody to celebrate with, and it doesn't feel so good. Like, you want to win,
Nope.
and you don't want to sacrifice your integrity, you don't want to sacrifice your reputation, and you don't want to sacrifice your personal relationships. And so that was the challenge, to try to
Mm.
take these hard, rough cut glass pieces and polish them up a little bit so that they're softer on the edges and kind of child safe. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? you
And
know
and we're the one polishing it, so we're the one that comes out with all the goddamn cuts on our fingers.
well, you brought it to me. What can I say? Like, you do take
Yeah.
the brunt of it if I disagree with the law. Like, you're the one I'm debating it with, like, in the back room until we come to a conversation that is fit for YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Which for a couple of those laws, I admit, was not easy. But this one is
We
not
pl-
so
we played
bad.
dodgeball. Well, I
We played
played
up. Yeah,
dodgeball.
yeah, well, dodgeball's better than hardball. So,
Yeah.
so all right. So on that, what we're on chapter 22. Yeah.
Yes. We are
All right.
on chapter 22.
So let's. So, how is the balance, everyone? If there's anything, just let us know in the chat. Okay. So let's see. You want to read the first slide?
Yes, I can read the first slide. Um, Law 22, the breakdown. Use the surrender tactic. Transform weakness into power. The law explained. Judgment. When you are weaker, never fight for honor's sake. Choose surrender instead. Surrender gives you time to recover, time to torment and irritate your conqueror, time to wait for his power to wane. Do not give him the satisfaction of fighting and defeating you. Surrender first. By turning the other cheek, you infuriate and unsettle him. Make surrender a tool of power.
Mm. It's those last words that resonate with me, because this whole series, is
Mm-hmm.
about regaining your personal power, keeping your personal power, honoring your own boundaries, keeping your fortitude, keeping your integrity, knowing yourself, taking accountability. These things that keep us balanced throughout all types of situations, business situations, very furious, very confusing situations in relationships, personal family things, just out in society in general. And most commonly, we bring up online situations that happen. That even if you're not in the same room with these people, these things can be very upsetting. Like, you know, like, and very difficult to deal with, certain
Mm-hmm.
situations. And they can feel very much out of control. The premise is, by keeping your personal power, that you're not the one out of control. Like, we'll just put that right out there. Keeping your personal power means you're not the one out of control. What they do, they do.
Yes.
Okay. In uh, keeping your personal control should be the first thing. Keeping your personal power should be the first thing that you are protecting at all times, because power is fluid. Power is situational. Power sometimes isn't fair. You're going to come up against situations where your power is less. There's nothing you can do about it. Well, that's when you keep your integrity, your boundaries, you're double checking for your mental health, you're finding a situation to use one of these laws so that your outcome is not the worst situation. It's the best that you can make it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Was that too much? Like, yeah. Hi, Maya. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so I like that one. Don't, make surrender a tool of power, because it is. Um, what is your definition of surrender, Rekkr?
Um,
Like when you think of the word. Well,
when I think of the word, for me, um, it's giving in to a opposition's opinion
mhm.
um or wants or argument.
Yeah, I can see that. When you say giving in, some people, when they hear the word surrender or they hear the term giving in, think loss, think loser. I
Mm,
say no. That is actually acceptance. That is acceptance in understanding, in protecting our own personal power. That's not necessarily loss, because, in my humble opinion, the way I interpret this, in the way I actually approach things, surrender or acceptance, if you want to use that term instead,
mm-hmm.
isn't loss. If you've protected your personal power and you put yourself in a situation where no more damage can happen, that is not losing. That's
No.
adulting. That's the way it should go, you know? And, so that's why the word surrender, like when they put it up with a loss, it just means, like, how about just not fighting, you know? Some people will think, oh, well, I said this about them and I did this and I did that. They didn't do anything about it, so they're the loser. No, not engaging is not losing. Actually, not engaging, in my humble opinion, because I have used this many, many, many times, because I'll gauge the situation. If there's something out of control that's going to be affecting me or my channel, let's just say online or something like that, I'm not going to engage in this stuff if it's actually irrelevant, if it
Mm,
means actually nothing to me, if it's not worth me engaging in a battle where I have to take risks to lose anything in my personal life, my personal power, my mental health, the success of my channel, relationships with my friends. Why would I put anything out of that at risk just because somebody tagged me in a really nasty fucking thing on X or something, trying to, for whatever reason, you know, if I don't care, I don't care. Like,
exactly.
is that losing because I choose not to waste my energy on irrelevancy? I think not. I think that's the power move. And I think when I think of this chapter, Law 22, it encourages me that when I have done this, I have actually used this law appropriately. When you choose to walk away from a situation that you have no benefit in, regardless of the outcome, that's not losing.
Mm,
And that's
exactly.
the point I want to make. Surrender is acceptance, not losing. It's not win or loss. Okay, surrender is accepting the situation and taking time and evaluating, and in some cases preparing for what you're going to do about it. Revenge or whatever, like some of the stories here. Does that make sense? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry that was so long, Rekkr. I want to give you space to talk, but I thought about this all night, and that just, I needed that out there. I needed that out there for people that I know are struggling right now with fighting with people in unwinning winning battles that they don't even need to actually address.
Yep.
And it can work in your favor, because it's not their job to protect your mental health, the people that are, trying to engage with you in uncomfortable ways. They're not interested in your mental health. They're not interested in your outcome. They're not interested in protecting your personal power or your boundaries. Only you can do all of that. Like, they don't care. You have to do that. You got to decide if it's worth the fight, you know? Is
Exactly.
because there's like, no matter how wrong they are, right? You're never going to get them to bend to you to admit that they're just awful or whatever, like, or they're doing the wrong thing. People just don't do that. you know the age of accountability is dwindling. Like, right, the age of taking accountability is, I don't see much of it. People don't often like to admit they're wrong or admit they did something against somebody. They're not. They're always going to come up with an excuse. They're always going to blame the victim. There's always a reason they did what they did. So wasting your time trying to turn that environment into something it's not is damaging to yourself. And you have to take accountability that you're actually the one helping perpetrate it
Mm,
by keep headbutting against it. When it starts not going in your favor, rule 20, law 22 comes into play. You think about taking a step back, stop fighting, surrender to the situation. And the key word here is what Rekkr said before I started this long soapbox about acceptance. He said
mm,
giving into, but I think when he went further in what he said, it really felt to me like he was meaning accepting the situation that you're
yeah.
in and taking that time, and just taking that time. And I think the examples that we're going to be reading about from the book, and we're going to be reading right from the book, um, are going to help that. And of course, Rekkr always gets the transgression, the one where it doesn't work out because you did it wrong.
Yeah.
Yes, that's not fair. Do you want to switch this time, or we could
No, I'm
switch?
happy doing the transgression.
Okay, all right. So, you're going to be reading right from the book, from starting on page 187 in the PDF. When I give the page numbers, it's not the page of the book; it's the page of the PDF, and it matches
Mm-hmm.
the link that's in the description for the YouTube video. If you're on Kick or Twitch, we do have the YouTube video. Could one of the mods please put the YouTube video in the Kick and the Twitch uh, chat, so that if they want to go find these links, they can find them easily? That would be helpful. So it's over to you now, Rick.
Okay. Transgression of the law. The island of Melos is strategically situated in the heart of the Mediterranean. In classical times, the city of Athens dominated the sea and coastal areas around Greece. But Sparta, in the Peloponnese, had been Melos' original colonizer. During the Peloponnesian War, then the Melians refused to ally themselves with Athens and remained loyal to Mother Sparta. In 416 BC, the Athenians sent an expedition against Melos. Before launching an all-out attack, however, they dispatched a delegation to persuade the Melians to surrender and become an ally rather than suffer devastation and defeat. You know as well as we do, the delegate said, that the standard of justice depends on the equality of power to compel, and that in fact the strong do what they have do the strong do what they have the power to do, and the weak accept what they have to accept. When the Melians responded that this when the Melians responded that this denied the notion of fair play, the Athenians said that those in power determine what was fair and what was not. The Melians argued that this authority belongs to the gods, not to mortals. Our opinion of the gods and our knowledge of men, replied a member of the Athenian delegation, leads us to conclude that it is a general and necessary law of nature to rule whatever one can. The Melians would not budge. Sparta, they insist, would come to their defense. The Athenians countered that the Spartans were conservative, practical people and would not help Melos because they had nothing to gain and a lot to lose by doing so. Finally, the Melians began to talk of honor and the principle of resisting brute force. Do not be led astray by a false sense of honor, said the Athenians. Honor often brings men to ruin when they are faced with an obvious danger that somehow affects their pride. There is nothing disgraceful in giving way to the greatest city in Hellas when she is offering you such reasonable terms. The debate ended. The Melians discussed the issue among themselves and decided to trust the aid of the Spartans, the will of the gods, and the righteousness of their cause. They politely declined the Athenians' offer. A few days later, the Athenians invaded Melos. The Melians fought nobly, even without the Spartans, who did not come to their rescue. It took several attempts for the Athenians to surround and besiege their main city, but the Melians finally surrendered. The Athenians wasted no time. They put to death all the men of military age that they could capture. They sold the women and children as slaves, and they repopulated the island with their own colonists. Only a handful of Melians survived.
Oh boy.
Well,
that didn't go very well.
No. Sounds like they died on a hill they shouldn't have.
Oh, so I think you need to reassure Trent that you're not saying Melos, you're saying Melians in the city of Melos, or the
No, I'm saying Melos.
Yes,
Melos, you got besieged, and it took a while, but they surrounded you and got inside you and made you surrender.
Sorry about that, Trent. It looks like you lost all your peoples, but I'm glad you're around to carry the line.
Yep.
Okay. I didn't know what nickname he was thinking of, and he says, but he keeps saying my nickname. Yeah, I know. See, you should have used Law 22, Trent, and you wouldn't be so bereft. Sometimes when the situation is out of control and the other team just has all the cards, or is bigger, a larger corporation coming at you to outbid you or whatever, sometimes surrender is the thing to do. And we're going to get into why afterwards. I know it sounds like giving up. I know it sounds like laying down and just let whatever happens. But it's not. It's actually more along the lines of the long plan. And we all know that most winners, successful winners, long-term winners, are always working the long plan. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. You want to do the interpretation?
Okay, I can do the interpretation most definitely.
Mrs. Cassandra is roaring in the chat saying she'll never surrender.
That's what the Melians said.
Yes, that's what the million said. It didn't go out too well for them, but well, surrender isn't always surrender, Mrs. Cassandra. It's accepting for a better way, you know?
Exactly.
Welcome, Jean. Okay,
Welcome,
back
Jen.
to the. Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
Interpretation. The Athenians were one of the most eminently practical people in history, and they made the most practical argument they could with the Melians. When you are weaker, there is nothing to be gained by fighting useless fight. No one comes to help the weak. By doing so, they would only put themselves in jeopardy. The weak are alone and must submit. Fighting gives you nothing to gain but martyrdom, and in the process, a lot of people who do not believe in your cause will die. Weakness is no sin, and can even become a strength if you learn how to play it right. Had the Malians surrendered in the first place, they would have been able to sabotage the Athenians in subtle ways, or might have gotten what they could have out of the alliance and then left it when the Athenians themselves were weakened, as in fact happened several years later. Fortunes change, and the mighty are often brought down. Surrender conceals great power, lulling the enemy into complacency. It gives you time to recoup, time to undermine, time for revenge. Never sacrifice that time in exchange for honor in a battle that you cannot win.
Wow. Indeed.
And
Oh,
then,
we have a quote for that one.
weak people never give way when they ought to.
The Cardinal de Retz. And I think that for me, that phrase right there resonates because people will look at this as weakness. But I assure you, having used this law several times, it takes great strength to stand your ground and look at the whole situation, and to not be emotional, and to not react, and to pick your battles. It
I
takes
think
stepping back, you know, it, it takes a lot of strength. It does.
I think this law also sort of I don't know if I think it might follow it tangentially, but it's also um, sort of suggesting to know when to maybe even admit when you're wrong, or accept what someone else is telling you is actually more accurate, or
Hmm.
more right than what you might be.
And that's going to come up later. Like, actually, that balance
Mm,
right there in, like, are you accepting criticism? Is this a known thing that you did that people are just blowing out of proportions and doing something? Is there
mm.
any reflection that you need to do in why this situation is? And then, and here's the big thing, and I'm going to get some heat for this, but I assure you, I'm ready for it. And everyone's entitled to an opinion. But we can't control other people's opinions of what we do and what we don't and what they do out there. Trying to do that is a waste of time and only harmful to ourselves. We are not superhumans. We are not God. We can't control them. It's impossible to control them. It doesn't matter if they're right or wrong. It doesn't matter what they say, if they're on your side or they're not on your side or whatever in a situation. You have no control over them, regardless with what every rule in this book says. Every rule in this book is just a way to try to make it look, or try to make you give you the tools to manipulate a situation so that you get a better outcome. But in the end, do you really have control over anyone else but yourself?
Nope,
Everything
not at
else,
all.
everything else where you're trying to get control of another person has the ability to turn into manipulation and go bad. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
So these rules and laws need to be, when you're using them personally for your growth or your interpersonal relationships, and not just business, right? And even sometimes in business, especially if you want to do business with the people again, you got to be careful because those lines get crossed so easily. Okay. Being a power player, you are not the most popular person on the planet. Everybody will look up and admire you because you got where you got, but you're probably going to be alone. They're not going to want to eat dinner with you. They're not going to want to hang out with you. They're not going to get into conversations. I doubt anybody's going to be calling you and saying, "How was your day?" Do you know what I
Yep.
mean? Yeah. And so that's the thing you have to look out for. Is that actually what we want? And I assure you there are people that do, and I don't blame them. That's their choice. They can do it. It's the way the world is. Okay. There are people that want to do that and they're willing to make that sacrifice. My only point is be aware of it. Be conscious of all of it. All these laws keep reminding us, read the room. Don't assume anything. Make sure you have the information. Take time. Nothing wrong with catching your breath so that you can act appropriately, you know? Uh, and at the same time saying don't wait too long. Make sure you can focus on opportunities when they're available. Be prepared. Um, they're complicated. You can't take just one of these rules out of context and think it's going to apply to everything because it's just not. It's just not. In I'm purposely laying that out there because some of the comments that I get are like, wow, that's a really brutal rule. Like I could never do that. That's like hurting other people on purpose. No, I don't think it's hurting other people on purpose. It is trying to manipulate a situation to get your best outcome. But I personally never want to cross that line where I'm deliberately doing something at to gain for myself at the cost of another. That's
Mm.
not dog eat dog business strategy, but that's my life now because I'm no longer in that world of business. You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
it depends on where you're at and what you're doing. If you're in the business world, you are going to have to be a little more aggressive. You are going to have to use these laws a little more geared how Green is talking about them than how I want to talk about them. Was that fair?
It sounds very fair.
Hmm. All right. Let's get on to an example when the rule was actually used correctly. If you're ready, Greg, if there's nothing you want to add.
Ready when you are.
Okay. So, for observance of the law, sometimes in sometime in the 1920s, the German writer Bertolt Brecht became a convert to the cause of communism. From then on, his plays, essays, and poems reflected his revolutionary fever, and he generally tried to make his ideological statements as clear as possible. When Hitler came to power in Germany, Brecht and his communist colleagues became marked men. He had many friends in the United States, Americans who sympathized with his beliefs, as well as fellow German intellectuals who had fled Hitler. In 1941, accordingly, Brecht emigrated to the United States and chose to settle in Los Angeles, where he hoped to make a living in the film business. Over the next few years, Brecht wrote screenplays with a pointedly anti capitalistic slant. He had little success in Hollywood, so in 1947, the war having ended, he decided to return to Europe. That same year, however, the U.S. Congress House of Un American Activities Committee began its investigation into supposed communist infiltration in Hollywood. It began to gather information on Brecht and had so openly espoused Marxism, and on September 19th, 1947, only a month before he had planned to leave the United States, he received a subpoena to appear before the committee. In addition to Brecht, A number of other writers and producers and directors were summoned to appear as well, and this group came to be known as the Hollywood 19. Before going to Washington, well, the Hollywood 19 met to decide on a plan of action. Their approach would be confrontational. Instead of answering questions about their membership or lack of it in the Communist Party, they would read prepared statements that would challenge the authority of the committee and argue that its activities were unconstitutional. Even if this strategy meant imprisonment, it would gain publicity for their cause. Well, Breck disagreed. What good was it, he asked, to play the martyr and gain a little public sympathy if in the process they lost their ability to stage their plays and sell their scripts for years to come? He felt certain they were all more intelligent than the members of the committee. So why lower themselves to the level of their opponents by arguing with them? Why not outfox the committee by appearing to surrender while subtly mocking it? But the Hollywood 19 listened to Breck politely, and then they just decided to stick to their own plan, leaving Breck to go his own way with his. The committee finally summoned Breck on October 30th. They expected him to do what the others among the Hollywood 19 did, who had testified before, arguing, refused to answer questions, challenged the committee's right to hold its hearing, even yell and hurl insults. Much to their surprise, however, Breck was the very picture of congeniality. He wore a suit, something he rarely did. He smoked a cigar. He had heard that the committee chairman was a passionate cigar smoker, and he answered their questions politely and generally deferred to their authority. Unlike the other witnesses, Breck answered the question of whether he belonged to the Communist Party. He was not a member, he said, which happened to be the truth. One committee member asked him, "Is it true that you have written a number of revolutionary plays?" Breck had written many plays with overt communist messages, but he responded, "I have written a number of poems and songs and plays in the fight against Hitler, and of course they can be considered, therefore, as revolutionary, because I, of course, was for the overthrow of that government." This statement went unchallenged. Breck's English was more than adequate, but he used an interpreter throughout his testimony, a tactic that allowed him to play subtle games with language. When committee members found communist leanings in lines from English editions of his poems, he would repeat the lines in German for the interpreter, who would then retranslate them, and somehow they would come out innocuous. At one point, a committee member read one of Breck's revolutionary poems out loud in English and asked him if he had written it. And he said, "No, I wrote a German poem, which is very different from this." The author's elusive answers baffled the committee members, but his politeness and the way he yielded to their authority made it impossible for them to get angry with him. After only an hour of questioning, the committee members had enough. They said, "Thank you very much," the chairman said. "You are a good example to the other witnesses." And not only did they free him, they offered to help him if he had any trouble with immigration officials who might detain him for their own reasons. The following day, Breck left the United States, never to return. So that that one is a good example of, do you consider that actual surrender though, Rekkr? Like the way surrender is normally interpreted?
No, not necessarily. I think I think it's not surrendering in the traditional sense, but it is giving more ground than what would be expected to
Right.
to the people who well, in this case, the committee.
Hmm. Right. So even though he's annoyed that he's being called in and they're picking on his stuff, calling him a communist and whatnot, it was surrender by acceptance of the situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going in there, yeah, they got some authority on me. They can subpoena me. I'm gonna have to answer the questions. But he strategically played it out in his favor. So
That he did.
surrender was not a loss in that situation. Surrender in that situation accomplished everything he wanted. He was
And a little
free to
bit
leave
more.
America. Yeah. He was free to leave America. He was free to write. Some of the other 19, they weren't. They no longer could write or do anything. They didn't have any contact with Hollywood because they were locked up or deported. Okay. But not Brecht. Brecht successfully got a great outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. So I wonder if the other ones in the Hollywood 19 regret what they did when they saw
Oh,
Brecht.
I guarantee it.
Brill- Once they saw Brecht's brilliant outcome, I'm sure they did. You know, it's not like he didn't advise them. You know, yeah. Okay, so let's see the interpretation. The Hollywood 19's confrontational approach won them a lot of sympathy, and years later they gained a kind of vindication in public opinion. But they were also blacklisted and lost valuable years of profitable working time. Breck, on the other hand, expressed his disgust at the committee more indirectly. It was not that he changed his beliefs or compromised his values. Instead, during his short testimony, he kept the upper hand by appearing to yield, while all the time running circles around the committee with vague responses, outright lies that went unchallenged because they were wrapped in enigmas and word games. In the end, he kept the freedom to continue his revolutionary writing, as opposed to suffering imprisonment or detainment in the United States, even while subtly mocking the committee and its authority with his pseudo obedience. Keep in mind the following: people trying to make a show of their authority are easily deceived by the surrender tactic. Your outward sign of submission makes them feel important. Satisfied that you respect them, they become easier targets for later counterattacks, or for the kind of indirect ridicule used by Breck. Measuring your power over time, never sacrifice long term maneuverability for the short lived glories of martyrdom. I like that last line.
Yes,
Oh, but I
I
know
do too.
this last one is yours. The last one on the slide is your favorite, I think.
Yep. When when the great lord passes, the wise peasant bows deeply and farts silently.
I like that one too. These Ethiopian proverbs were making me crazy last night, but they're pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty funny. Yep. It's like,
I think it's one of the best proverbs I've heard in a long time.
oh, no, it's good to see you, John. Thank you for the drop by. And I understand losing hours and hours to the internet. I definitely, can you understand that one, record? Like when you have to take a pause?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
I don't know how many times I just glance over on something, and for some reason 3 hours have disappeared,
exactly.
and I've been going through shorts for the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You know, that's the good thing.
Shorts are
These can,
dangerous.
yeah, shorts are definitely dangerous. But I would say for this series, John, like you don't necessarily have to be in live chat. This is one you can, look at the slides later in your own time or just listen to it later. There's a playlist and you can go forward, backwards as much as you want. Like I definitely understand people not having the time to stay hours in a live,
Mm,
consistently. So no worries. You know what we say around here, right, Reg? Real life
Mm-hmm.
first. Your
Real
real
life
life
first.
first. Absolutely. YouTube's a hobby. So let's see what we got on the next one. So let's unpack this one. You ready, Reg?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Um. Since I did the reading, I'm gonna let you read uh this slide, and I'll read the next one. We'll switch off and on. How's that sound?
Okay.
Okay.
I like the sound of that.
Mm.
Use the surrender tactic. Transform weakness into power. Core principle. Never fight for honor's sake when you're weaker. Instead, surrender strategically to gain long term advantage. Outwardly you bend, inwardly you stay firm. This counterintuitive approach transforms apparent defeat into a position of ultimate control. The key bullet points: never fight losing battles for honor when you're clearly weaker. Fighting only results in dissemination with nothing to gain. Surrender halts escalation. Your opponent expects aggression and is caught off guard by compliance, neutralizing their behavior. Time becomes your weapon. Surrender gives you breathing room to recover strength, learn enemies' weaknesses, and plan revenge.
Mm. And on that, more key points. The power of deception. Your enemy believes they've won while you're coiled around them, ready to strike when they weaken. Patience is strategic. Power always fluctuates. The mighty eventually fall. Surrender positions you to capitalize on their decline. Inward firmness, outward flexibility. Like the fig tree that bends in the wind while the rigid oak breaks, you survive and grow stronger. Removes enemy satisfaction. By surrendering first, you deny them the satisfaction of defeating you in a battle, confusing and unsettling them. It would be you.
Yes. And then it goes on: preserve resources. Running away leads to eventual capture. Surrender lets you stay close and gather intelligence. Overcome ego and pride. The biggest obstacle is emotional. Most people's reflex is to fight back, creating endless escalation. Wait for the reversal. Fortune changes. Your oppressor's power will weaken through circumstance, drought, infighting, or their own hubris.
Which is more than likely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the thing. The situations change. And this is all like surrender is the law you use when you've taken the time to really look at the situation. You know, of course, I agree that it's most people's instinct. Wouldn't you also agree? Most people's instinct to fight back first. Like
Absolutely.
you're like absolutely not. I didn't say that. I didn't do that. That's not fair. You're all wrong. Like naturally, you're gonna want to defend yourself or the situation or your bid is being misinterpreted in a business deal or whatever. The unfairness that the other guy has more money to spend, whatever. Your instinct is to fight back, but it's not. But you shouldn't fight back when there's nothing to gain at that moment. Remember, we're
Mm-hmm.
talking in the beginning at that moment. So then, eh, until you can regather, really look at the situation. Like they said, whether you're gathering information or you've got to get extra funding to bulk up the bid, or you want to get close to the other bidder just so that you understand the weaknesses in the bids, where they can't go. By surrendering and just accepting that they're bigger than you and they've got the better bid offer right now, they won't feel threatened by you if you surrender and just say, okay, well, yeah, you got it going on. Yeah. And then maybe you'll get information from them that will actually make them vulnerable for you to bulk up your bid and offer things that they can't. Like if you can't fight them on money, maybe you could fight them on services. If you can't fight them, because they're a bigger company, maybe you can on the flexibility of having multiple locations, even though you're smaller. Like it'll give you the opportunity for them not to be in defense mode anymore. And when people aren't being defensive in mode, even in business, they do have a tendency to let information out.
And sometimes by not getting defensive, you might even be able to find another way to get the same deal that you want, just in a different route,
Mm-hmm.
like joint mergers
Right, right.
or
And
joint ventures.
maybe you'll get the respect from the, we're talking about a bid situation here with two companies. Maybe you'll get respect from the larger company because you're handling it appropriately. Maybe they'll bring you on and you get all that
Exactly.
insider information and get paid for it while you're doing it and be able to
And you didn't even have to spend any money.
exactly. See, now we're thinking, now we're cooking with,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, see. So this is my point. I get excited about this because you can turn surrender is not a loss, it's a stall to an
Mm-hmm.
eventual win. That's how I look at it. In surrender is in surrender, it's acceptance of a situation. Surrender is a choice to not let the situation you damage you any further without you trying to like stall it, like without you trying to stop it. You know, it's to protect yourself. You know, surrender is to keep your boundaries, keep your integrity, keep your morality, all these things. It might look, you have to go work for the other company. So what? Like, it's going to put you in a position where the next company that you head yourself is bigger and stronger, and they won't be able to compete with you. If you have to work for like what, 3, 4 years with the bigger companies, so what?
Exactly.
I would surrender under that situation. So on year 5, I start my own company, do it my way. And I've learned from the bigger company and I know their weaknesses. So I know how to make my company the new standard.
Yep.
So in the next bid conference for jobs, they're the underdog. They might have to surrender. Their CEO might be working for me, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Yeah. It's strategic. It's long term. No, but
And
more than that, it's making sure you read the room, that you actually see the situation for what it is. Reality
yes,
check.
or even or even see the situation from a different angle, another 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 direction that you can actually attack the same problem.
Hmm. Because not everything is a win or lose situation. It's a forward movement or backward movement situation.
You can uh, Another way of putting it is, you can solve a lot of problems with a hammer. You can solve a lot of problems with a hammer. But sometimes a screwdriver just works a little bit better.
I understand what you're trying to say, but the visual of it is absolutely ridiculous to me. Just like, but I think I understand what you mean. Like with the hammer, you're smashing it up. You're coming in hard and aggressive, no holds barred. You don't care. Chips fall where they may, right? Whereas screwdriver is kind of, you're turning it until you get to where you want, giving you time, you know, to look at things, and you can stop at any time, and you haven't actually damaged anything around you. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like your computer breaks down. You could
Hmm.
take a hammer to it. It would fix your problem. You wouldn't have to worry about the computer anymore. It would be pulp.
You
It
feel
but
good for a second getting that aggression
and you
out.
would feel absolutely amazing once you finish smashing that thing to, oh, God, yes. But, maybe all you needed to do was just, like, screw down the heatsink a little better. Or, you know, tighten up tighten up your SSD so it wasn't wiggling round. You just, take a step back.
Right.
Surrender in a way.
Yeah. Surrender to the this is frustrating, the computer doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
But before I go and fight and just get into battle with it, let me just read the situation a little bit, take a breath. And that's what surrender is: acceptance of the situation, take a step back, take some time so that you can actually make a good outcome for the long run, you know? Uh, I actually like this law. I don't like
Mm.
the way he worded it, but I'd have to say I do like this law. I had to admit to myself that I use this law a lot. I do. Yeah. So now we get to the fun part: modern real world applications of Law 22. Because after all, the 1920s and the millennials are not exactly, now,
No, not
situations,
really.
Although the 1920s, 1947s, with Bertolt Brecht was one we can all relate to, being on, things that go on now in all of our countries, committees that want to judge you on things, in just anyone in authority challenging your position on stuff like that. You don't feel like you can fight back, but
The
you
homeowners
can do the partial
association.
surrender. What?
The homeowners association.
Oh, are we back on HOAs? Why do they keep coming up? Like, why do HOAs keep coming up? Like, I think, I don't know. Have you been watching the videos again of those crazy HOA people who just try to ruin other people's lives
I
and the
don't
revenge stories that go with them?
I don't understand why you guys even put up with those people.
Are you saying you don't have HOAs in New Zealand?
As far as I know, no.
Really? Oh, okay. Let me ask you: do you have gated communities, or like private communities of more than one dwelling, like not just an apartment complex, but like separate buildings and homes and stuff that everybody buys?
Kinda, yeah. Kind
Okay,
of.
and you don't have HOAs with them? You don't have an organization that helps organize, like when the trash gets picked up, or when lawns get cut, or
As
you know
far as I know, not in the same sense as what you guys have.
I have to tell you, we have apartment complexes here in the United States that will try to tell you what you can hang off your balconies and what color flowers should be out. Like, they
Oh
want to
my god, I'm
educate
tossing them off the balcony.
you. Exactly. We've had
Nah,
this
these.
conversation.
No, they just. No. They're gonna learn how to fly.
No, it's serious. Like, I don't know why that keeps coming up. But anyway, modern real world applications of Law 22. Uh, Rekkr's throwing the flowers is not a good application of Law 22. Uh, One modern real situation that you can use this law is in legal cases. Defendants who use this law, appearing to accept a verdict and cooperating with prosecution, often get lighter sentences or appeals based on good behavior. Okay, a negotiation happens. You don't fight it 100%, you know. Uh, Media personalities. Celebrities who face scandals and disappear quietly rather than fight publicly often recover, versus those who engage aggressively. Uh, they'd be using Law 22. Corporate takeovers, one of my favorite. Executives who surrender power gracefully, meaning you're the company getting taken over, often emerge with better packages than those who fight. Okay, they appreciate your cooperation. You either get a position within a company, which is not often recommended. It's a bad business move, because then they're just laying in wait, or you just get a good severance package and a good reputation, and nobody's really fighting you for anything you do on the outside again, leaving you in a better standing than if you aggressively fight something that's still going to happen anyway, And now it looks really bad on your resume, and you're not going to get a recommendation, and nobody's going to want to work with you for a while, you know? So that's a smart move. And also, public opinion shifts. People who acknowledge criticism rather than defend aggressively often regain public trust faster. I call this the accountability factor. For me, this works. I have more respect for people that come out and say, "Yep, you got me. I did this. I am sorry. I see what you're saying. Although I don't think I deserve as harsh a criticism as I'm getting, I do understand where you're coming from, or whatever." But at least acknowledging, where it's coming from, that it exists, and if you did it, you didn't do it, whatever. If you did do it, you take accountability for it, or at least take accountability for how it appears a certain way. I get I have more respect for them. They're at least dealing in the real facts of the situation and reality, you know? And I think that people learn to trust people like that faster, and you can recover their reputations faster because if they're being reflective of the situation. What do you think of that one, Rekkr?
Mm, I agree. I think it does. Um, how do I put it? I, I can't I can't think of how to put it.
Okay, we can give you time for that. We can go on to the next one.
Okay.
Because we've got case studies. Because while we were researching this, it found out that this is so psychological as to how it gets interpreted in society and how people use it. Um, we Rekkr and I did some research. We do use like different AIs and stuff, and we look at papers and articles and stuff and what other people have done. And for this, we decided to use public figures because you may all recognize who they are or the situation they were in, which would make it easier to understand why we're using them as an example, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I'm just going to go over the pictures and then we'll do the case studies. Starting from the one side, that's Martha Stewart, Robert Downey Jr., Janet Jackson, Sydney Sweeney, Blake Lively, and Justin Baldoni. Well, they're kind of together in their situation. We've got Sean Combs, aka P. Diddy or Puff or Diddler, whatever you choose to call him by. And on the far end, we have Britney Spears. Each of them has used or refused to use Law 22 in a situation with some type of scandal or online celebrity mishap or something we all know about. So, um, so on that, did you figure out how to word it yet? Or I'll just give you more time.
No.
Okay. You want to just move on?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's start with Martha Stewart. Now, this is older. Okay. So the scandal was back in 2004 to 2005. And the scandal that they're referring to is that she was convicted of insider trading, felony insider trading, a major effect, and obstruction of justice related to stock trading that she did. And she could have faced over 10 years in prison. And she was at the height of her empire at that time. And this was a career ending moment by most measures because it was felony charges. She was wearing the jumpsuit. She's going to jail. She used the surrender approach because she served her prison sentence quietly. She didn't do media tours, no public complaints, no fighting the system since the time she was indicted. You didn't hear from her. From the time the media was reporting that she was charged and she was going to have a trial or whatever, you never heard from her. No public statements, no big media blitz, nothing. She appeared to accept the verdict of the charges. She didn't wage a prolonged legal battle or public campaigns. She didn't do major appeals. She used her prison time strategically, by all reports. She came out with a redemption narrative. Like she came out when she got out of jail and she had a plan to restart her business and her empire and to take over again. She said, "I paid my debt to society." In other words, they found me guilty. I did what I needed to do. I paid my debt. And then she restarted her empire. She, allowing people to say what they needed to say about her. She never addressed it. She just took accountability, paid her debt, moved forward. She let the public do with it what they would. And, you know, eventually forgiveness settled into the public consciousness and said, well, she did what you have to do in that situation. And it's a psychological win, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
because by surrendering, she flipped the narrative from powerful woman caught cheating to resilient woman who faced consequences and came back stronger. Right? Like, it really, she kind of twisted it a little bit. She took a hit. Of course, she was in jail for a while, but she, while she was in there, she strategically planned what to do with her business. When she got out, she had a plan. And her plan was not to address it in the media, except for that she paid her time and she's better for it now, period.
And
In
I
the
think
public,
if I
I think,
remember correctly, quite a few people ended up coming to her defense and saying, like, yeah, what, why wouldn't you insider trade if you were in her position?
they did. And I think they also were coming out and saying things like that she was being made an example of because there was too much of
Yeah,
it going
because
on. And
everyone
also,
insider
mhm,
trades when they can.
and they
You,
picked her because she had the money to pay the fine or had the career to lose, where the people that were actually giving the information and everything like that should have been the ones prosecuted
mm,
when you think about it. But you didn't hear as much about that. Of course they did come under investigation and everything like that, but they did pick her because she had the most to lose, so they would get the win. She would fold and take her lumps, you know what I mean?
yep.
She had the most to lose by people out there saying she was cheating the system. She was going to lose her empire. Well, she
Mm-hmm.
didn't lose it completely. It just stalled, you know.
Exactly.
You know, I think, it, the research came back that said that's because the public admires humility and consequences met. She didn't fight. She accepted, she served her time, paid her dues, her price, and then returned. And people love a redemption story. I mean, doesn't almost everyone deserve a second chance? We all make mistakes, right? People
Yes,
love
absolutely.
to hear about the mistakes that are made. It's so salacious. We love hearing the gossip. We're going to hear about it. But what we love even more than that is when they come out with it with accountability in doing the right thing and respect, and it's a good ending at the end. You know, I don't,
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the stories that end with the person just in jail. Like I want the after. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Exactly.
So the her total outcome was that she's stronger. Her empire now is bigger than it was before the scandal. She's wealthier. She's more respected, and her comeback is considered inspirational to others. You know, um, and this was as of 2024. I don't know how she's doing in 2025 financially, but in 2024, she was a more relevant influencer than ever. Um, she's got brand expansion going on and all kinds of stuff. But this is a point where Law 22 served as apparent defeat but became an ultimate victory. Hmm. So I could see why it was inspirational.
I agree. I think it was very impressive, to be honest.
Yeah, I do like it. Okay. So now, let's see. Do you want to go over case number 2 for Robert Downey Jr.? We could switch off
Yes,
with
we
that.
can do
Yeah.
that. So the case study two is, as Claire said, Robert Downey Jr. Um, in between 1990s and 2003, he dealt with severe drug addictions, arrest, um, public disintegration, fired from Ali McBeal mid-show, served prison time in California for substance abuse at a substance abuse treatment facility. Career basically, well, pretty much destroyed. Not cancelled, but pretty close to finished.
Yeah, like,
Um,
who'd want to work with him, right?
yeah, exactly. And most predicted that he would never really work again. But what he did for his approach was he didn't blame the system. He accepted responsibility publicly and didn't make any excuses. He got genuinely sober, not as a PR move, just as a genuine real action.
Something people could see him do.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah. And
smart.
he worked for smaller projects first. He didn't immediately demand big roles. So he rebuilt his credibility slowly, which I think is probably one of the smartest things that you can do whenever in that
Hmm.
situation
What?
is
Yeah,
remember humility first
right, right. Nobody
before,
likes
yeah.
nobody likes an arrogant comeback story, do they?
No.
Right.
And I can understand why some people would feel somewhat entitled when they do come back, because they might have come before they were cancelled or whatever, or fell from grace. They might have been like the next big. They might have been like the biggest thing that was out at the time. So they might
Hmm.
feel, oh, I deserve those roles, and in reality, no, you're just a basic. You're you've gone from being one of the most well-known people to basically just your average Joe. So work your way up
Hmm.
from the bottom. Um, and he used the Marvel's gamble strategically. Um, he took a nobody else wants him role like Tony Stark from in Iron Man, and proved himself that way.
And he did well too. I can't
He
believe
did
nobody
very
wanted
well.
to play Iron Man. It's such a great character. But nobody, none of the big guys that were involved in the Marvel series wanted to take on Iron Man.
It's probably because they didn't see. I'm guessing the Iron Man there probably wasn't very much of a franchise forecast for the Iron Man thing. It was just going to be probably one or two movies, and
Hmm.
then the whole Avengers thing, and that would be
Yeah.
about it. But
Look at what it turned into, though. I mean,
yeah,
went from just him being the like a character that wasn't very prominent to being in every single one of the movies somehow or some way. Like
absolutely.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
pretty lucky for him. I'm sure he was just glad to even get the two picture deal, like with the
Oh,
first two Iron
absolutely.
Men. Yeah.
Mm. But he used psychological the psychological dynamic he used is like studios and audiences believed RDJ was broken and needed to stay humble, which he did. His non-resistance to being cast as a secondary character in what became a $1 billion franchise gave him leverage. He appeared grateful, and in reality, he was building. Um,
Right. Yeah. So he's being humble and having humility and saying, "Oh, thank you, oh, thank you," and
mm,
he's like, "Great, this is my foot in." Okay, good.
mm-hmm.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
that's the important thing when in any situation. It doesn't matter whether or not it's like a fall from grace or anything. Getting your foot in the door is the most important thing,
Hmm.
hands down, always. And so the outcome ultimately by 2024, he won an Academy Award for Oppenheimer. His comeback is a gold standard for Hollywood redemption. He didn't fight the narrative of being washed up. He pretty much accepted it and proved it wrong through work and emerged as one of the most respected actors in the industry, which he is. He really is.
Mm-hmm.
He's a perfect example of Law 22, the execution of Law 22.
Right.
Absolutely brilliant.
Oh, so those are great. Those are two really good uses of Law 22. Now our case study is going to go to Janet Jackson, to where Law 22 is partially used and the outcome is there's partial success, but it could be costly because it does involve some fighting back. So the situation with Janet Jackson that we're going to talk about is the scandal from the 2004 Super Bowl where her wardrobe malfunctioned. You know, Justin Timberlake ripped off part of her costume, exposing her breast for 9/16 of a second during the halftime show, watched by 100 million people. The backlash was entirely directed at Janet, not Justin. They were both performing.
Mm-hmm.
So she chose a partial fight back approach. She was publicly defending herself. She didn't accept the blame that society was assigning, that she just went out there and it was a gimmick and she did that for clicks and views, so to speak. She did it for the controversy. They were putting all kinds of stuff on her. She challenged the unfair narrative. She pointed out that Justin faced zero consequences while she got blacklisted for exposing herself, even though Justin is the one that accidentally exposed her.
And
Well,
it was
she
her
got
wardrobe
blacklisted.
that wasn't
Right.
working properly.
Right, but she got blacklisted and he got nothing, right? Everything was all about her. She issued confrontational statements, made it clear she wasn't the villain, that these things happen. I mean, she didn't do anything intentional, and it's not fair to say that it was an accident. She pursued projects aggressively with other companies and stuff like that. And she released two number one albums in 2008 and 2015 to prove she wasn't beaten. In other words, say what you want about me. I'm not letting you cancel me. She kept fighting, 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 you know. And in a way it worked and in a way it didn't. Because Janet's is shows a critical exception. When the initial judgment is objectively unfair, fighting back can work. She wasn't wrong. She was being treated unfairly compared to Timberlake. Public opinion eventually did shift in her favor when it became more obvious she was fighting back and what she was saying was making sense. Younger generations view her as a victim of double standards whenever anybody looks at this scandal. Now we see it. At the time, nobody was admitting to seeing it, but now we see it. But it still cost her. The cost was heavy. She lost 5 years of career momentum during the blacklist period. She had to explicitly defend herself instead of letting her work speak for itself. Rehabilitation took longer than surrender would have. If she was just quiet about it, it would have died down. If she wasn't out there with statements, giving people something to come back at, it would have ended a lot sooner. Her 2022 docuseries was necessary to fully reclaim her narrative, not a typical Law 22 figure. Okay. But the outcome, well, she did recover, but let's say she just has scars. Compared to Martha Stewart's quiet recovery, Janet's active defense worked because the situation was genuinely unfair, but it prolonged the wound. Lesson to be learned: surrender works better when defeat is legitimate. Fighting works only when blame is objectively misdirected. And I kind of agree with this one. When it comes to matters of injustice and unfairness, you do have to fight a little bit. You just have to weigh out the costs and know how far to go. What do you think?
You do. You do have to weigh out the costs, especially when it comes to things in public that, like, situations that are very public, like Janet's unfortunate wardrobe malfunction. Um, it was, yeah, it was, and it. I remember when I saw it, I didn't even when I saw it, I thought, oh shit, that's not good. But
Mm-hmm.
I never actually understood why people ragged on her so much because it was like it's a wardrobe malfunction. These things happen all the time. Like there are far there have been far worse wardrobe malfunctions than just what boils down to a nip slip.
Yeah. That's what it was. And it was 9/16. It wasn't even a full second.
No,
9/16 of a second, you know. I'm gonna let you read the next one. This was fun because this is more current. And I think this one opens up our eyes to what's going on now as compared to then. The other examples are farther back in time, like 2008, 2005. You know, well, you want to do who is this? This is our Sydney Sweeney.
yes, I can do the Sydney Sweeney one. Okay, let me grab that. Okay. So the Sydney Sweeney one is an example of refusing to apologize. The scandal, obviously, very recent, happened in December 2025, when American Eagle launched a jeans ad campaign featuring Sydney Sweeney with the tagline, Sydney Sweeney has great jeans. A wordplay on genes that sparked accusations of racism, and eugenic references. Um, I don't personally understand why, because, like, well, no. I understand why people did it. I don't. It. There was no need for it. It was marketing. There, once again, there's been far more on the nose marketing in general with a bunch of different places, which is one of the reasons why I believe she probably was told not to apologize or decided not to apologize herself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she used pretty much counterattack. She counterattacked the narrative. She never apologized. She never admitted to um, any wrongdoing. She did release clarifying statements explaining the intent without admitting harm. She didn't
Mm-hmm.
flinch or retreat, especially if you remember if anyone's seen the interview that Sydney Sweeney did with a reporter who tried getting a gotcha from her again, which
Mm-hmm.
didn't work at all.
Nope. She's not letting anybody twist it into something it wasn't. Yeah.
Nope,
Yeah. But
nope.
she's a beautiful young woman. Of course she has
She's
good
a
genes.
gorgeous young woman.
Yeah. And why are they trying to turn that into a racist connotation, superiority, some kind of white nationalism? It was pathetic what they tried to do with that, actually. It's
You
like,
could literally replace her with anyone and say they have good genes.
I know.
They
She's
they
beautiful.
they happen
Yeah.
to pick they happen to pick Sydney Sweeney, who is blonde hair and blue eyed, and
No,
that's all
I
they.
think they did it to be clever. I think they
Yeah,
did
they
because
did it
she's
to be clever.
beautiful. And they're using terminology, but American Eagle is a jeans company. Like, so of
It
course they're
is.
gonna be like, of course, like, and it says they're not trying to take over the world with a
They're
statement
not.
there. Like, yeah,
No.
it was crazy.
Yeah. If just thinking about it, like, yeah, a jeans company is going to be the linchpin in what decides how
Yes,
the
yes,
world is going to actually
yes,
function.
exactly. It
Yeah,
was
a
like taking
jeans
way too.
company.
a jeans company. That's what their intention was. Yeah, that's where they were going with that, you know. But can
Yep.
you imagine the pressure that she was under? Because you know that everybody around her was telling her, just be quiet, don't say anything, it'll blow over. And she's
Yeah.
like, hell no, this is ridiculous. Like, I can imagine how she felt like, that's insane. Like, that's crazy. Like, you're just
Mm-hmm.
like, no, we're not doing that, people. We are not
Yep.
doing that. You know, and I can imagine everyone around her, PR, her agent, you know, all of these are like business manager. They're all like, no, be quiet. Don't say anything. Don't do interviews. Like, no. But she didn't. She was just like, mm. And softly,
Mm-hmm.
very softly. I mean, didn't she laugh at that reporter? I think she did. I think she
I think
smirked.
she did.
I
Or
did. I
she
think she was
smirked
like,
or something.
are you for real?" Like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
Just
and just, oh gosh. Yes. I'm sorry. Go on.
yeah. No, the level of absurdity is palpable.
Mm,
it's it's ridiculous. But yeah, she stayed firm on her narrative. And because she did that, American Eagle, the foot traffic for American Eagle surged 34%. Her social media followers spiked by like 300,000 plus.
wow.
Despite outrage online, the brand gained from controversy. Both A&E and Sweeney remained in control of the narrative the whole
Yep.
time.
American Eagle or Sweeney did not back down. They're like, you cannot put something on there that doesn't exist.
You,
Like,
I mean, in a lot of the in the way that they were attacking her, you have to have a significant level of respect for her for actually sticking to what she believed and
mm-hmm,
and remaining remaining faithful to how she felt.
mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, Mr. C is right. Um, I didn't get the outrage on that. It was supposed to be like a dad joke. Yeah, exactly, a
It,
dad joke.
it was,
Yeah.
and she, you know, and she's beautiful, and the joke would be the same if we used not a American looking blonde, blue eyed, country looking girl, beautiful jeans, perfect skin, great body, right? Right? What
Mm-hmm.
if we used an exotic Egyptian with beautiful skin and silky dark hair and great abs? Okay. You know, they have beautiful complexions also, dark eyes and dark hair.
Mm-hmm.
Would they have done the same thing?
Yeah,
No.
no,
Does not the exotic looking woman from Egypt, doesn't she also have great genes?
I mean, by the way you described it, absolutely.
I'm saying comparatively, okay? They tried to say because she was blonde, blue eyed, that it was racist, that it was white superiority, that it was white nationalism. Like, they went too far. They were putting out a context that they didn't want. They were actually doing what they were accusing American Eagle of doing.
Mm-hmm. The
Racist
funny thing is,
connotation. Yeah.
the example you used, Egyptians are still white.
No, dark skinned Egyptians. Beautiful dark skinned Egyptians. Okay, Ethiopian. They're not white.
Yeah,
Change
no,
Egyptian
yeah,
to
Ethiopian.
Ethiopian. Can they all have beautiful skin, big, gorgeous, dark eyes, you know, great shape, beautiful abs?
Mm-hmm.
Would they have
Absolutely.
great genes? Would they have great
Absolutely.
genes? Let's talk dark Irish. Let's go to a dark haired Irish, not the regular, you know, red hair, green eyed, but we got dark Irish with black hair, black black eyes, really really dark, and pale skin. Would
Mm-hmm.
they also have good genes if they were good looking? The thing
Mm-hmm.
is, it doesn't matter if she's white. It mattered if she's beautiful and good
Yeah.
looking. She comes from good genes, like because she's
And she
gorgeous.
was wearing a pair of good jeans.
And she was wearing a pair of good jeans. Like, I agree with Miss Cassandra, a dad joke that they just tried to
She
turn into racism, which was pathetic.
She had good
Absolutely
genes.
pathetic.
Literally, she was wearing them.
And here's the thing: should she have to apologize for that?
Nope.
Okay, I have 5 extra pounds on me, and I'm a redhead instead of a blonde. Does she owe me an apology? Because she's gorgeous? I don't think so. Like
No.
what? Like seriously, what were they making her apologize for? What did they want
Mm-hmm.
her to apologize for?
It was. It was just they just attacked using optics, and from what I can tell nowadays, people don't care too much about optics anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why she was able to just stick to how she felt, and basically remain in control of the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's it does violate Law 22, but it still worked because in the 2025 media environment, refusing to grovel can be more powerful than apologizing. Sweeney demonstrated that when outrage is performative and not organically grounded, um, confidence confuses the narrative. She didn't surrender. She overwhelmed the scandal with indifference. And she had a really good indifference face. I remember that from her
She did. She did.
from the
She
interviews as
side
I
eyed.
were.
She side eyed really good. In that
Mm-hmm.
smirk, the side eye with the smirk. I know the picture you're
Mm,
talking about. Like she really, yeah,
yep.
she did. Yeah.
So, and a lot of this came from the psychological dynamic of modern audiences being fatigued by apologies. And so when someone refuses to apologize for something ambiguous, um, it signals either genuine confidence, like I didn't do anything wrong, or sociopathic indifference. I don't care if I did.
And some people admire that.
It's a, a lot of people tend to admire that for some reason. Um,
Yeah, I can tell by our last election. But anyway.
yeah.
Mm.
Either way, it stopped the before we get demonetized. It stops
3, 2, 1,
the
yellow.
pile-on. The outrage needs fuel. Apologies, defense. Outrage needs fuel. Apologies, defensiveness. Confidence starves it.
Right.
Um.
No, gives them nothing to go back at you at.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You know,
Yep.
it's kind of like that thing that I do that annoys some people when they just come at me about something and I'm like, and
And but the sky is blue. How does that make this banana bread taste any worse?
hey, I'm not going to argue with
It's
about them. I hear what they're saying. I understand it. It just means not like what do you like the end means either uh what do you want me to do about that or sounds like a you problem
yeah.
or 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 okay, can I just go back to what I'm doing? It's like it's
Can
nothing
we
for me
stop
to do
wasting
here about
time
that.
here? Like,
That's like
jeez.
no, yeah, kind of, yeah, no,
Mm,
no. In that situation, it worked, and I think it also. Well, I'm gonna let you finish and first. Like,
okay. Um, the critical distinction from Law 22 is Law 22 basically uses strategic weakness, so a pair weakness to rebuild and rebuild secretly, where Sweeney was strategic strength, appear strong, defy narratives, so on and so forth.
mm-hmm.
So this is a 2025 adaptation of power dynamics in an age of performative outrage. Confident non-compliance beats strategic surrender for immediate wins, but long-term long-term stability. Um, but long-term stability. Uh,
Question.
that's that's still the Martha Stewart's approach.
In other words, Sweeney won this battle straight out, right?
Mm.
and it's got an immediate win in a surge in
Mhm.
popularity, but it's on her record. We don't know long
Mhm.
term if she will suffer the consequences of being considered difficult by the people that were handling her, like public relations and her manager, who had to take the onslaught. Um, it could go either way. Martha Stewart's approach was definitely a winner long term, but she didn't make any waves. Because regardless of the fact that Sweeney was right and she didn't do anything wrong, would you agree that there was some waves, some
Yeah.
big waves out there, and it went
Mhm.
on for a while. Okay, and she fed into it by fighting back, which probably made it go on longer, but she felt strongly about it, and she did win. It worked
And the
for
way
her.
she fought back, I found quite interesting. It was a way where she fought back where if someone wanted to get upset over it, they could, but she didn't fight back in a way that gave more energy to their outrage. It was a she fought back in a very deflating way
Hmm.
where like yeah, it was very much like how you say it's just like yeah and
In other words, you're entitled to how you feel. If that's how you want to interpret what was done, fine. That wasn't how I felt what I did is. Like, she's like, that wasn't the intent on my part or the company's part. But if you want to interpret it that way, that's on you. I got nothing to say about it.
mm,
Like, I'm
I
not going
think
to
it spoke
engage in an
more
argument
to
where there's nothing to argue about. You're saying it represents this, and I'm saying, nope. I'm not going to waste my time trying to prove to you that that's not what it is. Like, you can
hmm
have your space, do what you need to do. You know, like, in other words, it's a you problem,
I
and I don't have
honestly
to
think
deal.
it spoke more to the people getting outraged than it did to
It
anything
made them
else.
look very bad. Actually, it really made them look petty. It made them look like they were looking for a fight. It made them look like they would take anything and turn it into drama. It really took away from the argument. Does racism exist in advertising and in big companies and all out there, and it's right in our face? Yeah, it is. Was
In
this
some
one of
forms, yeah,
them? No,
absolutely.
it wasn't. Well, no, it
No.
wasn't. This was not one of them. And so, another lesson in picking your battles. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but I love the way that this particular example shows how much the climate has changed in 2025 and going into now 2026. It's not the same.
Mm,
It's not the
no.
same. Um,
People don't care about how things look so much anymore.
no, and we're actually admiring people who are just pointing out the ridiculousness of situations sometimes. Because is it true that performative outrage is everywhere now? People will get upset by the soda that you drink online. Like, I kid you
Mm-hmm.
not. They will look into the fact of where that soda was manufactured, who they represent, who they used in their ads, who they made donations to, maybe even who the CEO voted for in the last election. And they will
Mm-hmm.
try to put that on you. And me, hey, I'm just here drinking a damn soda. You know, I'm
Just,
just
I just
this
want to
what
drink my Coke.
right. Like
I don't. I
performative
don't.
outrage.
Yeah.
It's like you want to get pissed off because I chose Coke over Pepsi. You do you, boo. I don't want to know about it. I don't need to hear about it. I surrender. I surrender by putting my headphones on and ignoring you. I'm done. Like, that's it.
Yo.
I'm not going to engage. And that's the climate that's out there now. Like, that's what they're like, performative outrage. It's rampant. It's rampant. People want to be mad. And I think it's
Mm-hmm.
because they're frustrated that things aren't changing the way they want. But I don't think what they're doing is going to elicit any good change at all. Because most
No.
of the time, performative outrages, they end up doing exactly what they're complaining about.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone that was yelling at American Eagle and Sydney Sweeney for representing that she's a beautiful white woman. We're being racist that she was a beautiful white woman. It was
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what I mean? And please don't come at me and say you can't be racist against white people. Like, you can be racist against any
Anyone.
race, Any race. It's race.
Anyone can be racist.
Okay.
It's in the term.
It's the proper use of the word, and I don't want to hear about semantics, and I don't want to hear about this and that. Like, I understand everybody's dealing with racism in a different way, and it's not the same, and I'll agree with that, and I'll give you the nod to that. But don't tell me you can't be racist against Sydney Sweeney for what she did, because they were. They absolutely were. It was a clear example of it.
Oh, I've seen some of the things that I saw when people were talking about Sydney Sweeney would make Hitler blush.
Exactly. They were actually doing what they accused the ad of doing, right? They were
Mm-hmm.
they were actually using behaviors in statements and words and attitude that they would condemn anybody else for using against them or other people. And I found that
Mm-hmm.
like atrocious. Well, that's the climate now. We're fighting back against that. We're fighting back against the performative outrage and the ridiculousness of certain things, or the way people are twisting things to mean something it doesn't. We're not letting them take situations anymore and use them for their own converted narratives. You know what I mean? We're like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, okay. Well, you can take that duck, you know, and put it in your picture and call it a pigeon because that's how you want it interpreted, but it's still a damn duck. I'm not going to agree with you. I'm not going to fight you, but I am going to point out the ridiculous that you have a duck in your picture that you're calling a pigeon. Sorry, not sorry. Like, that's how it is in 2025, right? Like, we're pointing at the ridiculousness and going, oh, hell no. Aren't you people going too far? Like,
Yep. I just
you
say to people like that, I just like, okay, I agree to disagree. There we go.
like, hey, you know what? They may have a point. You have a valid point, but I could tell you the way you're handling it, the way you're expressing it, the way you're putting it out there, we're losing the point. You're not getting any points for your point anymore. Like, you're doing
Mm-hmm.
it wrong. You're doing it wrong. You're losing our attention, and you want to make us care about it, and you're actually doing the opposite and making us not give up a F about it at all anymore. Okay. Because of how you're beating us up with it constantly and twisting things in manipulating narratives. It's a very uncomfortable environment. Absolutely. So let's talk about another one where fighting back made everything worse. And I'm going to do this one really short. This is the case of Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, and this addresses both of them. Blake Lively didn't like the way she was treated on set, and she did a complaint, and then she made the mistake of taking that complaint instead of in-house. She did what she did, and then she made it public. She actually published it to the world. Justin Baldoni, instead of addressing the complaint quietly with his lawyers to go, he countersues, and now they're both in this big lawsuit. All of their DMs are out. It did nothing but escalate, and both of them have irreparable damage to their reputations. They both look petty, wrong, aggressive, ridiculous. They both look like they'll lie for their images. They both look like you can't believe anything that they say. They both look like they're using it all for their careers, and that they represent to the public a different face than who they are privately. It's a bad situation. They use PR teams to fight each other. They're up to $400 million in legal fees, settlements, and business losses. Lively's reputation took a big hit of her being difficult to work with. Did she overreact to things? Was this a strategic lawsuit to get control of the book and the rights to the book to do another movie? Baldoni's reputation was finished because even though he disputes the allegations of mistreating her, with the whole thing, nobody believes it. The only one who won in this situation were the lawyers. They're quite a bit richer right now.
Mm-hmm.
If Baldoni himself had quietly conceded and fought it, he could have said they had a creative conflict, things were misunderstood. I respect your perspective. I never meant anything. Moving forward, we will try to handle our set in a different way to prevent any further misunderstandings. But no, he didn't do that. Okay, it would have been a brief controversy, a quick resolution, taking some accountability, not admitting total wrongdoing, but saying, hey, I hear your criticism. Let's try to do better. I think people would have went with that. Well, Blake Lively, if she had pursued quiet settlements to make what she said were the changes that needed to be made in how he handled his sets, and not actually a big power move to gain a movie and or some public damage to him to actually not ruin his career. If they handled it privately, she could have got that, because she did get meetings with Sony and she did get meetings with human resources, and they all agreed things had to change. And if he was willing to do that, then that would have appropriately got her that goal, if that was actually her real intention, right? But apparently it wasn't, because she brought it public and wanted to destroy him. If she had done it privately, her reputation wouldn't be ruined. She'd still be able to work. People wouldn't see her as difficult, blaming, and strategically a bitch behind the scenes while she pretends to be so nice out in public. Because now both their careers are pretty much toileted.
Cooked.
Yep. Sometimes fighting in public never wins, especially with legal battles, especially in something where, would you agree that being an actor or being in Hollywood or being in the entertainment industry, public relations matters. Perception out here is a big part of your success, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
Going public should be the last thing you do. It should be very carefully thought about.
You better be squeaky clean if you go public with anything.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The next one is tough. We just did this case. I'm going to let you read this on. I think, guys, we're going to go a little longer than 2 hours, as we have 2 more cases. We'll see how we go.
So the next one is Diddy. Mr. Baby Oil himself.
Somehow I knew that was going to come out.
Fighting mounting allegations that led to catastrophic failure. A federal raid in 2024, over 60 lawsuits for sexual assault, trafficking, and abuse, which I accidentally made this video get held, but anyway, prison sentence, complete career collapse. The failed resistance approach, the initial denial, which the claim, basically claiming that the allegations were overblown, hiring an expensive legal team that fought each allegation individually, desperate attempts to control the narrative, like the apology video that...
Oh, desperate. Yeah.
I don't think anyone even believed.
I don't even think his lawyers believed that one.
I'm surprised he was able to keep a straight face through the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to continue his career, tried to push through the scandal, even though he shouldn't have. He should have just...
Yeah, he should have just stayed quiet and fought these things individually. That part where you said attempting to control the narrative, where he did the apology video. If anybody saw 50 Cent's documentary with Netflix on Sean Combs' case, it blows that apology and every other contrite, like I've learned my lesson thing he ever said, because it actually pictures him talking to the lawyers while all this is going on, trying to actually get people to change their statements, trying to control the narrative, wanting to do a big public relations thing, wanting to get in all this other thing, trying to get other people out there to make statements for him and stuff like that. He was totally trying to control the narrative out there, very pushy and aggressively. Like, that was not a contrite man in that hotel room. Would you agree? I mean, the scene I'm talking about, the opening footage?
Yeah.
Okay, and here's the kicker. He paid somebody to videotape all that himself. His idea was to film all of this so he could put it out on how he was going against the system and the 60 people that were trying to bring him down with claims of what he did and how he was fighting them so aggressively, like he was some business mogul superhero in
Like
his
he was,
hotel room, right?
like he
And
was
this
some
guy,
kind of,
yeah,
like he wasn't in controlling all the situations the whole time, and he's just this
exactly. Like, here.
innocent innocent man that's been
Exactly.
clearly misinterpreted and
Uh huh.
misunderstood.
Exactly. That's the irony. That's what I'm trying to say. Here he is making these big moves to show that he's in control of everything out here. While in public, he's saying, that's not how it was. I would never do that. I don't control this. I'm not mean to people. I let people do what they want. I'm not like that in business. I don't do this. I don't do that. While he's making a movie about how he does that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it just blew me away. I laughed pretty hard about that. I just had to add that because it was, it, yeah.
As well as like, I can't believe he didn't completely scrap it after the Cassie video came out.
Yeah, right. Well, that's when he did the apology video. He tried to
Yeah,
cry on stream. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
He's just, I just, I don't understand how he even considered that it was going to be a good idea.
I, I don't know, but all I do know after watching that documentary is he didn't listen to anybody. He he's not paying PR people to listen to them for advice. He's paying PR people to do exactly what he said. That was
He
very
he's
clear.
he's paying for yes men.
Exactly. He's got the PR people there for the connections and to get stuff out to the public and everything like that. But he doesn't want their opinion on what's the best way to handle anything. He didn't want a handler or a manager. He was in total control. He was just telling them what to do,
Mm-hmm.
including like what papers to put it in, what statements to make, who to contact. Like he was aggressive and in total control. It didn't work. It didn't work.
Absolutely. But anyway, let's see.
Tell us why it didn't work.
The weight of the cumulative allegations made the individual fights meaningless. With 60 plus credible accusers, no amount of legal aggression or PR could overcome the pattern. Each fight just added to the body of evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Like a
Yep.
beautiful
Uh,
croissant
or Domino's.
with baby oil used instead of
Oh,
butter.
stop. Oh, God. Ew. That's not beautiful. That's downright disgusting.
A
All right.
baby oil croissant.
Okay. I don't know. If what you said before wasn't going to get us limited, because you can actually say that, but this baby oil croissant just might. It just might. Yeah.
So there was also the psychological inevitability when allegations are numerous, credible, and patterned. Fights actually accelerates. Fighting actually accelerates collapse. The legal battle highlights new evidence. Each public statement invites more accusations. The system basically turns against you. Your own system turns against you. There was no way he was. This was a clear example of where he just needed to be quiet and take his licks.
Mm-hmm.
He might have liked that a little bit more, you know.
Okay. Move on to the outcome.
But the outcome was a complete career destruction. Brand partnerships severed, culture erasure, but ultimately Law 22 would have failed here too. Some
Mhm.
situations are just unrecoverable once it reaches a critical mass. And that's what happened with the accusations. It
Mhm.
just got everywhere. I mean,
Mhm.
You could probably ask anyone in nearly any country, and they'd know exactly what you're talking about when you talk about the Diddy situation.
Hmm.
The lesson here is don't be Diddy. Just just don't be
Well,
Diddy.
yeah, there's that. Yeah.
But also, at some threshold, no strategy saves you. Once allegations become systematic rather than isolated, fighting or surrendering both lead to collapse. The only difference is speed.
I would say there's something else that's a difference that you have to
Mm-hmm.
weigh into that. It's not an outward difference like of it, that everybody would see, but a personal difference to yourself. Whether you decide in a situation that is totally unwinnable, whether you fight or surrender, would be to what it's going to actually cost you. Mental health, balance, money wise, long term effects. Weigh it all out and choose which one, because you have to choose one, right? Because if
Mm-hmm.
you do nothing, that's surrender, right? So, you know, even by doing nothing is a choice. Doing nothing is a choice. It falls under Law 22, surrender, just acceptance. So,
Mm.
but you know what I mean? Like, it's a matter of not only just how long it takes, uh, but also what the accumulative consequences are going to be to yourself personally. You know.
Exactly.
Well, here's another one that people wouldn't expect to see for Law 22, because Law 22 is surrender, right? And to accept the situation. And I think clearly we can say that Britney Spears did not accept the situation. Um, this is a case study about Britney Spears, and it's going to highlight fighting from weakness. So it goes back to 2008 when, under legal control and unable to make her own decisions anymore, despite being a working adult, her only power was her voice. Britney Spears was under a conservatorship that their father had put in place, saying it was for her own good. She was made to still make money. She had no control of where she performed, what she performed, and how her money got spent, where she should go, who she could hang out with. Total control. The only thing she had was her voice. She used the fighting approach, but it was constrained by the situation, or rather the system of conservatorship that she was in.
Those
But
beautiful contracts.
but she did testify in court. She spoke publicly about her situation. With the Free Britney movement, people got involved. She used social media. She shared messages circumventing her handlers and got information out there that was then circulated with the Free Britney movement. She built public sympathy this way. She made her case to the court of public opinion and the court itself. She pursued legal action with the court, she fought her own conservators in court, which was risky because these people were in control. And she brought them to court to say all of this about them and to get it done. But why would she take on such a fight when there's so much at risk? Because, well, fighting was necessary here. Because if she did nothing and surrendered, it would never change. She was in complete enslaving mode. Like they had total control of her. It was not surrender with the ability to have a recoup. It wasn't like she just bided her time and it would all be over. If she used Law 22, it would never change. It would be no redeeming. There was no redeeming value in surrender here, because it would just mean total enslavement. So it's a critical exception to Law 22 and to passively surrendering. Sometimes you have to aggressively not surrender. She was literally imprisoned by the system. Silence would have meant permanent loss of autonomy. So fighting was the only moral option she had. For her, the outcome was great because her conservatorship ended in 2021. She regained autonomy. The public sees her as a survivor who fought oppressors, and her documentary was cathartic validation. Now, she's still a controversial figure. Some people still think she needs some help. Well, she's free now from the conservatorship, free to get any kind of help she wants or doesn't want. Um, this law 22, this situation kind of undermines law 22 a bit, right? It kind of
Mm,
like it assumes you have some agency. Law 22, it
yes.
seems you have some rights and control, right? You can choose to surrender or fight. But in this situation with Brittany, how did she have any? She didn't have any agency. She was in a complete control situation to where if she did nothing, it would stay that way forever. Like there wasn't really another option. So Law 22 doesn't account for situations where surrender means permanent enslavement or permanent loss or a permanent decision that you can't come back from. When the system itself is unjust, immoral and wrong, fighting becomes morally necessary, even if it's strategically risky, even if it means taking a great risk. Would you agree? Like she really didn't have any other option.
Oh, yeah, she had no other option. She had to
Yeah,
fight.
right. And I think I know I chose to use that case because I wanted to show why not every situation you can apply law 22 to. It's not always appropriate because like that's true for all the laws, isn't it? Not each law is not going to fit in every situation. It's a matter of cultivating which to use and which not, or the
Yep.
combination. Most of the time it's a combination, right? Like because
Mm-hmm.
before you can use law 22, you got to read the room, right? You got to know the
Mm-hmm.
situation. You know, you also have to know what you're up against, who you're dealing with. So you got to know thy enemy. Isn't that one of the other laws?
Something like
Um,
that, yeah.
yeah, something like that. Sometimes I go back to the 50th law, which had all of these laws in it in a condensed different way, you know,
Mm.
and you know, and I just remember repeatedly hearing that you've got to know the situation you're in. You've got to understand what's going on. Dealing with the reality of the situation is paramount. It's the one thing you have to do first before you can apply any of the others. You know.
Mm.
Yep. So let's see. I'll let you read the slide for our imagery that Robert Greene always puts in. For every chapter, he does an image and an authority for us to try to hit home the law and what it means.
Okay, so the image is an oak tree. The oak that resists the wind loses its branches one by one, and with nothing left to protect it, the trunk finally snaps. The oak that bends lives longer, its trunk growing wider, its roots deeper and more tenacious. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
And the authority, ye, ye. Okay, bear with
Do, you,
us. This is going to be
do you
some
want
old English.
do you want me to
Um,
read the old
no,
English for
I
you?
can do
You
it. I
ready?
can do it.
Do it?
I'll
Okay, good.
muscle through it. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
I have confidence in you.
That makes one of us. I'm glad. Um, so, the authority. Ye have heard that it hath been said, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you, that ye resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also. And if any man will sue thee at the law, and take away thy coat, let them have thy coat also. And whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him twain. That's apparently Jesus Christ spoken in Latin ways, in
Mm-hmm.
Latin proverbs, in
Mm-hmm.
Matthew's 5:38-41. Some people like it when you go for the
Mm-hmm.
cheeks.
Well, one good turn of the cheek deserves another, right? Well, this is actually
Exactly.
what they call the turn the other cheek proverb, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think we have time for all the questions, so I'm going to let you pick one, and then I'll pick one to ask you. But I do
Okay.
recommend that everybody go over these later if you'd like, and I'd love to hear from you in comments about them because they were good. I just overestimated how long it would take. I mean, underestimated how long it would take to go through all of our cases. So I think, yeah, it was a lot, but it was important and it was fun.
I do like the first one. Have you ever
Well,
chosen to walk away from a conflict instead of fighting and later realized it actually made you stronger?
do you want to answer first, or do you want me to answer first?
Um, oh, you can answer first.
I have a short answer.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I have been approached with these kinds of situations, and I have found my power and my strength sometimes by walking away, by making a decision that it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Um, it really, in the big picture of things, doesn't matter to me at all. Doesn't change what I do on my channel. Doesn't change anything in my real life. Especially if it's coming from people who I actually do not care what they think about me, because the way that they are acting, the way that they are behaving, the things that they do to others, I have not a bit of respect for them. So why would I care what they think about me? Actually,
Mm-hmm.
if they liked me, I'd worry about it. What did that say about me? So when I
mm,
say absolutely, I mean it. And they can go ahead and demonetize me for saying that, but that's the only way to answer that question.
that's fair.
Have you ever been in a situation like that?
Um, I have been, and yeah, I in my situation, it was more of whether I wanted to fight a legal battle or not, and I ultimately chose to just go with uh not not pushing it because it would I in the end it would have been more trouble than it was worth.
So like
So I
monetarily and time and mental health.
monetarily,
Yeah.
time, just emotionally, everything. So I just took the little win that I could get and I kept it moving.
Sometimes
And
that's the best play because you're free now to do your other goals, the things you really want to make accomplished, to get accomplished in,
mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah. No, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, you pick your battles, right? It's just a matter of,
Absolutely.
you know. And some people would say that that's quitting or losing, surrendering too much. I don't think so. That's a passive surrender to gain power, to gain your freedom, your strength, to move on to better things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, my turn. Here's all right. You know I'm going to do this one. Do you think today's culture rewards people more for doubling down and never apologizing, or for accepting consequences and rebuilding quietly?
Um, I don't think it's necessarily a one way or the other. I actually think it is it is they people will still respect you depending on how you approach either taking the punishment or doubling down. But right now, more people will respect you for doubling down and just sticking to your guns.
Yes, especially in the climate we have today. Like they said,
Yes.
with this, like the overreach that's going
Mm-hmm.
on with performative outrage and people turning everything into a big fight, about everything. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of agree, but I also think it can be very situational, like you said. Because in this, let's just use the Sweeney case, for example. She didn't do anything wrong. There's no reason for her to apologize. What is she going to say? The only apology you can give, and I have used this before, I'm sorry you're looking, that you feel that way. I apologize that it hurt you in some way by the way that you're looking at it. But I'm not going to apologize for what I did because that wasn't my intent. That's your interpretation. In other
Mm-hmm.
words, like you can feel the way you want, and I'm sorry you feel bad about it. You want to make something big about it, fine. But that's you hurting you. That's not me hurting you. Let's get that straight.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, let's get that straight, right? You don't get to drop it on my feet because you choose to twist whatever happens. You know, I'll apologize because I don't want someone to feel I intentionally wanted to do something, especially if I didn't. Like, if I didn't intentionally do something, I'm going to kind of say, I'm sorry you're feeling the way that you're feeling about it. Like, and I'm sorry that's how you're taking it. I can assure you that's not the way it was meant. I'm not going to apologize for saying it. Like, it's the truth. It's what I believe, whatever, you know? Um, but I also believe that accountability matters, and especially in this now. I have a lot of respect for
Yes.
people that take accountability. You can double down and still say you did something wrong. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it depends on the situation. Sweeney didn't do anything wrong. Somebody who's been arrested on charges and is not sorry about it and just says and then just goes on this tirade about I'm only being charged for something illegal because you don't like me, because everybody does this illegal thing. And I have heard that in 2024 and in 2023. I'm not with that. That kind of doubling down, I'm not for. It would be better
Mm.
if they took accountability. Yeah, that happens, but you're all blowing it out of proportion, and let's just let the legal system handle it. Would be a better answer for me, right? Like, well, I still think accountability matters. I don't think you have to be quiet about your accountability, though.
No.
You know, it depends on the situation. If it's like, if I was an actor or a musician, in an entertainer of some type, and public relations mattered, it depends on what the situation is. If it was something that I did that is actually wrong, then yeah, I got to be quiet, I got to go away, I got to rebuild. If it's something they're interpreting that way but it didn't really happen that way, no, I'm not going to be that quiet about it. I'm not going to let you run a narrative on me that isn't true. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm.
So
Exactly.
yeah. So I guess it's situational. So I hope to hear from everybody about these. These are some great questions, and I'm sorry we don't have time for all of them, you know. But let us. What do we have next? Oh, it's the end.
The reversal.
It's the reversal. Oh, so here we go. All right. Do you want? Okay, I was talking for a bit there. Do you want to read, or do you want me to still read it?
I can grab the reversal. Let me just
Okay.
get up
Is it
to
big
it.
enough on the screen for you there?
Okay, I can read it. So, the reversal. The point of surrendering is to save your hide for a later date when you can reassert yourself. It is precisely to avoid martyrdom that one surrenders, but there are times when the enemy will not relent, and martyrdom seems the only way out. Furthermore, if you are willing to die, others may gain power and inspiration from your example. Yet reversal. Yet martyrdom surrenders reversal is is a messy, inexact tactic, and is as violent as the aggression it combats. For every famous martyr, there are thousands more who have inspired neither a religion nor a rebellion. So that if martyrdom does sometimes grant a certain power, it does so unpredictably. More important, you will not be around to enjoy that power, such as it is. And there is finally something self and And there is finally something selfish and arrogant about martyrs, as if they felt their followers were less important than their own glory. When power deserts you, it is best to ignore this law's reversal. Leave martyrdom alone. The pendulum will swing back your way eventually, and you should stay alive to see it.
Those are very wise words. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
those are very wise words. Absolutely. Well, that concludes the presentation for Law 22. I do hope to
Mm-hmm.
hear from some of you on the comments in the comment section for some of the questions and all. Please feel free. Rekkr and I do not to speak for you, but we enjoy reading the comments and we enjoy answering you on and
Absolutely.
hearing your perspective. And this is a one that can go either way. So, pro or con, we definitely would like to hear from you on it. Like we got a super message here. I can't believe it's been this long. I think you're the longest membership I have, and I love it over here. We're very happy to have you here. So, 44
Exactly.
months. Wow. It's been that long? Like, that's a long time. Wow, I've been monetized for 2 years. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's on. Hey,
Well over two
still
years.
here. They still let me do this.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Well, this was a fun one for me.
It
Rekkr.
was. It
I
was actually
I
pretty
enjoyed
good.
this one. Yes.
Mm.
What do we got coming up for next week?
The next one is Chapter 23. Concentrate your forces.
Concentrate your forces. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a team building exercise. I might like this one. Okay.
Yeah, this one
Yeah.
actually sounds pretty
Working with
good.
people, cooperation. Yeah, it does.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I want to thank everyone who was in the chat chatting with us, who were watching behind the scenes. We see you. We know you're there, and we're happy to have you. And for all of you who come later, as often on the channel and do the replays, thank you. And thank you for taking the time to comment. It's been really great. And we enjoy hearing from you if you're not in the live chat or you're listening to it later. We do enjoy it. So I thank you. You guys with your interactions are what keeps it going. It keeps us out here doing what we do. And I'm having a blast doing it. What about you, Rekkr? I'm really having a good time. But
I am too. I am finding it great. I am finding great enjoyment out of this.
and I'm learning stuff. I'm actually learning. I am learning
Mm-hmm.
more about why these things work on people and how to protect yourself against them mostly, you know. But
Exactly.
but I think that's valuable information and I think it's important for everybody to have. And if we inspire anyone to check out the book or to actually read the slides and go back to some of the other things that come up based on the psychological impacts and how to protect yourself in it, then I'm great. If it's even just one or two, it seems like every week somebody's telling me they've pulled up the PDF and they're starting to read, or going back and listening to other chapters of it. So it's encouraging. And thanks everybody, and thank you, Rekkr. Without you, I never would have did this. You challenged me, and let's say as of chapter 23, I have no regrets on accepting the challenge.
Excellent. I am very glad I brought it to you. I'm glad you
Okay.
accepted it too.
Well, Annette, you'll see both of us back here next Saturday, and hopefully we will see you here too. And
Mm-hmm.
thank you to the mods, thank you to the chatters, thank you to all the live viewers, and to the after viewers on the replay. Thank you all.
Cheers.